happy side of me, help me find the stronger part of me, Turn around, give yourself the permission. Just know that you deserve it. But sometimes I get scared and dismissive. Don't wanna be this way. Don't wanna be this way, yeah. Don't you worry. Take your time, take it slowly. No, don't give in so easily. Yeah, you deserve to be free, yeah. Stop this thinking. Take a breath, stop your doubting. No, don't you see? Toxicity and worrying has no meaning. I don't wanna be this way. It's never easy feeling like you're so alone, and your heart feels like a stone. Think about it night and day, wondering if you'll be okay. I'm here in this place once again, suffocating. It's drowning me too deep. I know I've gotta stop this, so yeah, don't you worry. Take your time, take it slowly. No, don't give in so easily. Yeah, you deserve to be free, yeah. Stop this thinking, take a breath, stop your doubting. No, don't you see? Toxicity and worrying has no meaning. I don't wanna be this way. Navigating through the clutter in my mind, I do this all the time. Think about all you've done, it's a journey. Just know that you deserve it. Look ahead and keep on walking, walking towards the light. Oh yeah, stop this thinking. Take a breath, stop your doubting. No, don't you see? Toxicity and worrying has no meaning. I don't wanna be this way. Help me find the happy side of me, Help me find the stronger part of me, Turn around, give yourself the permission. Just know that you deserve it. But sometimes I get scared and dismissive. Don't wanna be this way. Don't wanna be this way, yeah. Don't you worry. Take your time, take it slowly. No, don't give in so easily. Yeah, you deserve to be free, yeah. Stop this thinking. Take a breath, stop your doubting. No, don't you see? Toxicity and worrying has no meaning. I don't wanna be this way. It's never easy feeling like you're so alone, and your heart feels like a stone. Think about it night and day, wondering if you'll be okay.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. How's everyone doing this Thursday evening? I hope you're doing well and that you're not suffering from any COVID anxiety from what's been happening over the last week. I know I have. I don't know about you guys. But before I go on, my name is Egan. I'm actually a host from Calm Collective Asia. Over there. We're a partner of BTL. Thank you for having me, BTL. If you don't know, Calm Collective Asia is a community for good mental health in Asia. Our mission is actually to break the mental health stigma in Asia, to give people the confidence to get the help they need before it's too late. You may find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Telegram, all of them at Calm Collective Asia. Very important to mention that this talk is co-presented with Beyond the Label for BTL Fest 2021. As you can see on your screen right there. BTL is a movement led by the National Council of Social Service to address stigma faced by persons with mental health conditions to create a more inclusive society. And we all know we need a much, much more inclusive society in this time of need and this time of the pandemic as well, as we all face these challenges. All of you watching online, feel free to react with us, interact with us as well. Please do, because we will feel very lonely on stage over here because it's only the three of us as we are practicing social distancing and all that in this stabilization phase. So please interact with us. We'll see it on the screen. You can ask us your questions or react to our comments. Send us your emojis, send us your reactions as well. And you can also ask on Padlet. It's a website you can log on to, padlet.com/Beyond the Label SG/I Feel You Bro. I'm assuming, yeah, I'll give you all some time to actually go type that into your browser. All right, so before I begin and before I introduce the guests to all of you, let me set the scene a little bit. This session is called I Feel You Bro. Okay, this is an existing series for Calm Collective Asia, and it started a while back as a vision from one of the co-founders of the organization to really give a platform for men actually to share what are some of the concerns, because we recognize that men have a tendency to stay silent about the issues that we face. So that's the reason why for this episode, the title of it is called Don't Suffer in Silence. So I have very two esteemed guests joining me here today. And the whole purpose of this is not just to talk about all the help is available. And we believe that by sharing some personal stories that you can relate to, I think it'll help give you the motivation to actually take some action for yourself or for a loved one. According to the Samaritans of Singapore in 2019, so 2 out of 3 suicides recorded in Singapore were actually males. Is that surprising to you? Let us know in the comments. Not wanting to appear weak or wishing to be a burden to anyone, as well as stigma in society, men are pressured to suffer on their own and in silence. One more fact to share with you. Based on another study, 2016 Singapore Mental Health Study, the top 3 mental health conditions experienced by Singaporeans were, drumroll, major depressive disorder or depression, as we are most commonly known, alcohol abuse, obsessive compulsive disorder or OCD as well. I think we'll probably chat a little bit more about that later on. Thank you so much again for joining us. I'm going to introduce the guests to you. Right next to me on my right, almost lost my sense of direction there, I have the very lovely Ron. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you for introducing me, Egan. I'm Ron. I am a mental health content creator and advocate. I run the page Mental Health CEO on Instagram. It's a page dedicated to spreading information about destigmatization of mental illnesses, talking more about the symptoms of mental illnesses, and giving a little bit of self-help tips to people suffering from them. Yep. Over to you, Lino.
Thanks, Ron. Okay, my name is Lino, and I'm a certified peer support specialist. I have been helping peers go back to work, gain confidence, and journeying with them.
Right, Lino, actually, you have a very special title, right, that says person with lived experience.
Yes.
So, as part of this introduction and part of what I've said earlier, we wanted to hear a little bit more about just journeys of mental health. For each of us, I think I will probably share some of my perspective as well. But tell you what, since you were last on the microphone, let me just throw it right at you and jump straight into it. Why don't you share with us, just top line for now, what was your journey like with whatever you're having and whatever you're facing currently?
Okay, so in 2018, 2019, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder. So it's something that really kind of took over my life, something that I couldn't control. And
take a deep breath. It's okay. Take your time, don't worry.
It took a little while for me to actually get out of it. It was a struggle, a big struggle, but I mean, with support along the way, I managed to come out of it, and now I'm back into society, giving back to those who need, those help through those hard times. Yep.
A round of applause for you. Seriously, I mean, how many people can actually say that from their own personal experiences, they're able to come out above with their head above the water and be able to actually save other lives as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I personally myself, like with the struggles I face, sometimes I also tell myself that maybe my issues are not important enough, and I think maybe like why do I make my problems someone else's burden? But I think what you've shared, and also as a peer support specialist, I can imagine that your own personal story has helped save lives in different ways too.
Well, I hope it does. I hope it does. I mean, I just want to know that, you're not alone out there. There is definitely help, and you don't have to suffer in silence. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Ron. Your personal journey.
Awesome. So basically for me, I was in the OCD group that you mentioned, and I'm quite open about the fact that I used to have, and I still have OCD and anxiety. And in fact, the blossoming grounds for it was a huge issue with social anxiety in the past. In fact, I used to spend 2 to 3 hours every night just replaying social situations in my head that I thought I could have done better. And afterwards, it became OCD, because I indulged in several rituals to try and release my anxiety, and that became OCD. And kind of the interesting thing about me is that I actually kind of suspected that I had OCD when I saw a post on Instagram about the symptoms of OCD, and I thought, that's me, right? So that's what actually got me into visiting the therapist, getting a diagnosis, and that's what kickstarted my journey to recovery.
All right. So keep those comments coming, those reactions as well. I'm quite interested to learn how all of you are feeling about what has been shared so far. And thanks so much, Lino and Ron, for the very quick introductions. And I know we're going to unpack some more, so Lino, brace yourself. So for all those at home, Lino and Ron has been panicking the whole day about doing this today. And we've had a few laughs before this. But all of your love, all of your support from at home will go a long way for them to make them feel comfortable, especially when we unpack some of their personal stories. So, all right, on today's show for the rest of it, okay, we're going to cover a few topics, but we'll keep it flexible. At the end of the day, we want to open a safe space for us to talk about it, similar to everyone else at home. We want to... It's always about creating safe spaces for us to be able to share all these stories. We're going to talk a little bit more about how we identify your triggers. For Lino, for example, how do you identify it? Because I can't imagine for us, I think we're about the same age. So I think at our time, social media was not really a thing. Like, I'm sorry, Ron, but at our time, we didn't have Instagram to tell us that, hey, everyone's building all these kinds of awareness. Right? There were so many typical stereotypical answers or replies like, oh, crazy, that guy, or like, oh yeah, when we were in school, it's always like, oh yeah, OCD or whatever, and people just keep brushing off. Yeah. So as we grow, I wonder how we can identify these triggers ourselves in the midst also with all these like public chatter. Going on. We also talk about how we travel towards the goal of self-acceptance. I have issues too, and to be honest, I haven't seen a therapist about it. I've gotten a lot of requests from friends. Maybe I should, but I would love to hear your opinions as well on how to accept what we have. And then, lastly, we'll end off with keeping afloat and also sharing a lot of information on screen, compliments from BTL and all the wonderful work that they've been doing about destigmatizing mental health also, especially in Singapore. So let's dive straight into unpacking some of these triggers that we want to identify. So a question for Lino. Suffering in silence can apply even to what seems like the most extroverted people. Before this talk, when we had a briefing call about a week ago, you did share with me about, we some of us like to make people laugh, and that we always live on the reactions of other people. Yeah. So would
Correct.
you want to unpack that a little bit more and how you find that to be a trigger of yours as well?
Well, let's start when I was a kid. Okay. When I was growing up, basically my parents were the kind that, especially my dad, big boys don't cry, men be men up, men up, and that was when I stopped kind of showing my emotions. So every time I feel hurt, I don't show my emotions. But when I see someone sad or when I see someone not doing good, I would tend to want to make them happy. I tend to want to make them laugh, smile, and always want to be there for them. It makes me happy when I see them happy, right? So I kind of lift off that energy. But when I go home, I don't really have anyone to talk to, or I don't really share my inner emotions, and it becomes really lonely, and it plays in my head a lot. Yeah.
Do you get that sense then that when your friends always go out with you, then you're like, Lino's fine, like he's always laughing, always jovial anyway, like I don't need to check on him and stuff. Do you face stuff like that?
I mean, there are some friends that do check in once in a while, but I'll just say I'm fine, I'm good, I'm okay. Why you ask me these kind of questions? And in the end, I'll just turn the table around and make them laugh and just brush it off.
Right.
Because it's not something I want to talk about.
That's interesting. Ron, feel free to jump in whenever you want, but one quick question for you, just interrupt us if you need to. Do you think always trying to make sure someone else is happy or laughing is a bad thing?
I wouldn't say it's a bad thing or a good thing. I mean, for me, it comes from within. I always want to make people happy. I just love to see my friends, family members happy, smiling. Even the bad part is when it comes to the cost of your own happiness.
Yeah.
I guess that is when it becomes bad, because there is no, no self-care.
There's not really any boundaries.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's no boundary.
Yeah, and I guess something interesting was that there was a period of time in my life where I was actually really, really lonely as well. That was maybe around the first, second year of university, and I was telling my friends about it over dinner, and they said, I didn't know about this. Yeah, so I guess, people like you and I, who I guess thrive off of other people's happiness and making other people happy, we have this kind of mask that we have, right? And this mask can sometimes be very opaque. Yeah. And it's hard for people to see through. Yeah.
Yeah. I see it more of like layers. I think this is something I've grown up with, where like I react differently to certain group of friends, react differently to my family. Well, okay, I mean, I will come right out and say that basically my family is broken since I was in about secondary school. So I never really understood what family meant to me. And I totally understand and vibe and relate with the idea of loneliness. Because we're on the topic still about identifying the triggers and unpacking them. Now, what I'm hearing from the both of you is that the common thing right here is loneliness. Right? It's about going home and then feeling absolutely down and out and not knowing how to address it. So at what point do you think it then led to like depression or OCD or anxiety, any of those conditions? At what point do you think it escalated now, looking back? Because I'm very sure at that point in time you didn't think about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And just one more thing to add about loneliness is that it doesn't mean that we are alone, all right? Rather, that doesn't mean that we are around people. That doesn't mean that we can be lonely, or rather can't be lonely. So actually, I had lots of acquaintances, maybe even friends, yet I still felt as if kind of very few people could understand me, that I could really talk to genuinely about.
It's like celebrities, isn't it? Yeah. We've heard the stories like, okay, I mean, let's be real here, because a lot of the celebrity suicides that have happened, right, they have left notes behind because they feel absolutely alone, just pertaining to what you've just said.
Yeah, I totally agree on the relating part. I mean, you can talk to someone and you can express how you actually feel, but if they can't relate to you on a certain level, on it is really difficult to express that inner emotions that you want to express. I totally agree on that. I mean, for me, back to your question on what really triggered or
Yeah, or how you identified it becoming depression.
okay, okay. Since you open up about your family, let me open up about
Yeah,
mine.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Safe space.
Okay. So when I was growing up, I was basically overshadowed by my elder brother.
Okay.
Okay, and I was always known as the independent boy. Lino can do everything by himself. Lino can solve his own problems. So at that point of time, I was just doing everything myself, even at the age of 10,
Right.
11, when I needed my parents to solve some problems for me.
No, absolutely no childhood. Or what the idea
I was
of
a
child
grown
supposed
I was
to
a
be.
grown up. I was basically giving my parents advice.
Yeah.
And I was maybe forced to grow up or something.
Grew
I
up
don't know.
too. Yeah, like I bet your friends have told you probably the same thing. They told me like you grew up too fast.
I don't know about that, but I'm always giving advice to people. But I think what happened was I was forced to grow up in a family that my parents just made me too independent, right? And I had to do things by myself. So in my head, growing up thinking that I can solve everything by myself, why do I need the help of anyone else? So as I grew up, I worked, and with that mentality, I guess it's stuck with me that I can handle everything by myself. Even when I had my own family, I would handle everything by myself.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
The strength.
so-
I can't imagine how you did that.
That's the thing. My wife would always want me to open up and share, but I just want to handle everything by myself because that was my mentality.
If my wife is watching right now, I think she's gonna be like, "Oh my God, it's me, like it's Egan," because we've had this talk so many times also about like solving things ourselves. I think that's another thing about being men. I think that the societal expectation that we're supposed to do everything. I know that's changing now. It's 2021, whatever, about the woke culture. But the reality is, especially in the Asian culture, we're still facing this issue of men is supposed to do everything. So I totally understand that. Ron, you want to jump in?
So actually, something interesting is that I kind of had the opposite, I guess, family situation. Yet I still feel that the ending point is around the same. And what I mean is that by that is that actually my own father passed away when I was 3. Yeah, and it wasn't really that much of a trauma, but they left this kind of vacuum, right? And this kind of vacuum where there's things like emotional vacuum, there's financial vacuum, and as a result, I spend much of my time, much of my life growing up alone. And that's when I came to this whole independence mindset, since kind of there's not really many people around me that I could talk to, that's time to rely on myself. So even though our family situations are kind of different, we still ended up at this same point.
You go ahead. No, I'm just, there's so much to take in. There's like a lot of self-realization that's happening in my head right now. If you can't see it on my face. But this is truly a learning experience for me. Fill up those comments as well. Don't forget to go on to Padlet to ask your questions for the panelists. Lino, can we unpack a little bit more on the how do you move then from trying to solve everything to accepting that you can't solve everything then? Because I still find myself in that position where I need, at least by impulse, I'm always trying to find myself in that position.
Well, honestly, until today, I still have that mentality that I still need to solve everything by myself. It is not something that I think I can get rid of overnight, right? But what kind of pushed me to the point that I wanted to seek help is when I became suicidal, right? When my mind took over my body, I couldn't even remember how I got up onto the ledge,
It's just completely blank, is it?
I mean,
How did it feel?
the ledge is high, and
Yeah.
look at my size, right?
Not saying anything.
Not saying anything, but how the hell did I? Sorry, am I allowed to say that word? Yeah. How did I even manage to climb up?
Yeah.
Right. But I didn't remember any of that. Only to the point where I was looking at my hands and I saw my kids, name.
Oh no.
That was when I realized I was actually sitting down and looking down. So I threw myself back. I threw myself back and I told myself that there's something
Why?
wrong. There's something
Yeah.
wrong. I think I kind of lost it.
I'm sorry, really sorry to hear that. I mean, can you imagine what if you didn't have kids at that point in time? Do you think I feel like family is such a big factor for us? Those who have kids especially. I feel now being a new parent, so my daughter's only almost 2 years old, but my life has changed, and I think I understand your perspective. Do you feel like it would have been a different outcome if that were the case?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. But what I'm saying is that it had got to a point where it was almost too late.
Yeah.
Right? Be it whether I have family or not. Right? I had this mentality that I can do it by myself. But at that point, I realized that I really needed help and I needed to talk to someone.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Lino, take a deep breath.
I'm good.
Thanks so much for sharing. All right, I'm going to throw a bit of the attention over your way, Ron. Okay, on the topic of expectations. All right, so share with us a little bit more about your journey from upon seeing that Instagram post and that self-discovery that you had. And at what point do you think that you needed to take action for yourself?
Yeah, and it's funny because I did know that I was really, really anxious for most of my life, yet I kind of internalized it as normal, and I thought that it was something that everybody faced, right? And it was only until I saw that Instagram post and also the succession afterwards, when I did more research about it, that this is not really normal. Yeah.
Could you describe a little bit more about the anxiety that you feel? Because my understanding is that there are different levels of it. For those who are online, right, and those who haven't sought help yet or sought help, can you help them describe a little bit about that feeling so that we can learn also?
Yeah. So, there's two kinds of, there's two layers of anxiety, and one is kind of anxiety as a feeling. It's kind of what we feel day to day when, let's say, we have a test or maybe before this talk, right? And this anxiety is in some ways productive, right? Because it can sometimes translate into energy. But the issue is when our fight or flight system goes really haywire, and almost every day without any sort of threat, you feel as if there's lots of different physical symptoms. Like for me, my heart pounds really, really quickly as if it's going to jump out of my chest. And when kind of that physical line or the physical boundaries is crossed, that's when you realize that, hey, maybe I have a condition.
What were the other symptoms then? Do you lose sleep, lose appetite, or had blackout sessions as well where you don't remember?
I guess for me it became OCD, right? And I guess one of the big things is that for my A-levels, I almost got a T grade, which is the grade that you get if you cheat.
O levels.
A levels. So the uni entrance exams.
Okay.
And that was because I wrote after the paper ended, not just once, but twice, to finish my sentence.
Okay.
So there's this thing, right, to complete this sentence, otherwise I'll fail, even though it's obviously not the case, right?
Still no idea about anxiety at that point, right? You didn't self-diagnose or anything. You just knew you had to do it.
I thought it was normal, I thought it's something that everybody faces. And only until I did more research about it, I went to the therapist. And to be very honest, I only kind of knew that it was not normal when I actually, wouldn't say recovered, but got better.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe that's because I met really amazing friends in university. I sought help. Yeah.
What prompted you to see a therapist? And this is at that point in time, when was this? When you were just finishing JC, then you went to see a therapist? That's super young.
Exactly.
It's not normal. So what prompted you to do it?
Yeah. So okay, first thing was the fact that I almost cheated for my exam. Right, that's a big thing.
Sorry, teachers.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, my JC teachers, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry for giving you so much trouble. But that's one thing. I guess second thing is, so the question is what prompted me to see?
Yeah, because at your age, I wouldn't have thought about therapy at all. So I'm amazed actually, how you actually brought yourself to that so early on in life.
So I guess, the benefits of being a Gen Z, as I have just realized, I'm not a millennial, I'm a Gen Z, turns out that the social media has been a huge benefit for me, and I did a lot of research about it, especially when it came to my attention that I maybe did have a condition. And I guess I can share this about my OCD, and it's not something that I have shared so openly or in such an open platform before. But my OCD kind of ritual, the big thing about it is that I go to the toilet a lot. Yeah, and I go to the toilet sometimes multiple times, and at night it's a huge problem because I can go up to 20 times, and I can just go off for like 4 or 5 hours without sleep because of it. And obviously that's not normal, right? So at some point in time, I realized that this was not a condition that was something normal people face. So I had to do something about it because it was affecting my life. Yep.
Okay, so what about parents? Okay, because there is a question here that I've written down, but I'm going to swing this one, kind of sneak this one in about parental expectations. Because Lena, you also mentioned earlier about your parents too. So coming out with all these issues now, when you think back, how much were your parents either causing it or supportive of it?
Okay, well, I told my kids this story before. Okay, so I used to have these problems, when I watch scary shows or when I'm in a, when I'm scared, I get this thing, and I used to call it nerves attack. I will stiffen up and I cannot breathe and I get nervous.
Yeah.
So there was this point in time where I had my room painted blue and red with a black door, and so being a Catholic and all, my dad went into the room and said, let me bless the room. I think it's possessed. You are possessed. Okay, I think there's something in the room possessing you. But at that point of time, I didn't know that it was anxiety. I didn't know it was anxiety. I thought that it was just nerve problems because I broke my neck, and I thought it was nerve problems, And my dad, my parents tried so many things, bringing me overseas to leave the spirit there and then come back. There's so many things, but it didn't come across my mind that it was a mental issue, a mental condition, right? How about yourself?
Yeah. So I guess for me, it was kind of more of dealing with this vacuum that my father left, right? And I guess the impacts of it still impacts me and my family today. There's this whole idea of maybe having a hands-off approach, yeah. And I guess it comes from the trauma of having someone leave you at that point in time, where we kind of feel that we are independent, yeah. And as you were saying before, it's kind of what led me to think that I was alone for most of the time.
Right. All right, let's talk a little bit about parenthood for Lino. Okay, because we do have a question. Okay, tell you what, Lino, let's do this one then.
All right, sure.
Okay, there's a question to Lino from Padlet. I have a similar childhood as you, and I do not think my mental health is bad enough to seek professional help. Even if I do seek professional help, I live with my triggers, my parents. So many of us can relate to that, right? How do I know if I have fully healed? Well, let me just, before I throw it over to you, I can't imagine that there is such thing as full recovery. But go ahead.
I totally agree with that. I always tell people that recovery is a journey and it's not a destination. So until today, I'm still recovering. I wouldn't say I'm fully recovered.
It's about the baby steps, isn't it?
It is the baby steps that actually help. And when you say that you think that you are not, your mental health, your mental state is not bad enough for you to seek help, when is it bad enough? Right? When is it bad enough? When is it
too late as well?
Exactly.
Yeah.
When is it too late? When are you going to tell yourself it's enough? If you already feel that there is something wrong, or if you feel that your parents are a trigger, there is someone out there to help you, to talk to you. You know, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be on medication or anything. You can talk to a counselor, you know, maybe figure something out along the way, bring your parents in, have a conversation with them with a third party. You know, this can help along the way. It might work for you, it might not work for you, but it's always good to give it a go.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to chime in and say that honestly, even if you don't think you have any problems, I still feel that most, if not all, people will benefit from a trip to a mental health professional. Yeah, and it's not just whether you have depression or anxiety, but to kind of establish links between what has happened to you in the past and what you're currently facing right now and how you're coping with certain things. And as for your point about, you know, whether we can be fully recovered, it's well, it's hard to say, but I'm leaning towards not really. Yeah, because there is always the chance of what we like to call a relapse, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why seeking help is so important. Continuous help is so important.
Yeah, I always remember this thing that Sabrina, the co-founder for Calm Collective, has always shared with me. She heard it from someone else as well, but I'll say it here in plenary that the brain is also an organ and it can get sick. So much like any cancer cell, you know, there are points at some point in time where there are remissions and it comes back, like any sickness really at the end of the day. So yeah, I hope we answered your question. I guess we'll come back to this because the early question I have, since Lino, you had the chance to speak, I'm going to throw it over to Ron.
Sure.
I'm very curious as to how do you think your condition has changed how you planned your future?
So, I guess one thing is that with respect to my anxiety, right? That is kind of, it's mostly, I wouldn't say recovered, but I've managed to deal with it. And through that journey, I think something that would be quite inspiring to say is that it has made me a better person because of it.
Yep.
Yeah. So dealing with social anxiety, understanding that a lot of the kind of fears in our head, especially about other people, are unfounded, has really kind of, in fact, made me more ambitious as a person to know that I can deal with such issues. Yeah. So as for my OCD, it's kind of still there. It's a problem that I face every night. And how it's affected my future is that, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, but your plans at least, like, you know, were you ever worried that, I can't do this job because, I will have an OCD problem?
Yeah,
and things
so
like that?
I guess an area in which we can talk about is NS.
Yeah.
And I have huge, I guess, worries about NS. I mean, I've been through NS already.
National service for those who are not from Singapore, but
so yeah, conscription. So I've done my 2 years already, but it's just the what do you call it? The one afterwards.
Huh?
Reservist. Yeah.
You haven't done your first cycle yet.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm still a student, by the way. So yeah. So reservist is something that I'm still lucky.
I can't feel you, bro.
Yeah, and I'm worried about it. You know, I'm worried about it. Like there's no toilet nearby.
Yeah. Shared toilet as well.
And there's no privacy. It's dirty.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess something that I tell myself is that I've been through tough patches before.
Wow. Yeah.
And I know for a fact that I can deal with it. Yeah. And I guess that's what living with conditions has taught me.
Right.
Yeah.
Does the COVID situation help at all?
Help.
For you? Yeah, I mean, I'm going to ask as a friend here.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to keep it so formal, but there are certainly a lot more measures now in order to keep things clean and all that. Has that helped in any way with OCD?
So I guess something that's thankful for me is that I don't have the cleanliness OCD. Yeah. And one might even say that that's a kind of a stereotype of OCD sufferers.
Right.
But the whole COVID situation has helped in the sense that, the fact is that we're all doing Zoom meetings right now.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess something that is good for me is that I work better at home.
Yeah.
I work better at home. And just not being around crowded places, just not being around a lot of people has been helpful for me. It's given me, and in general, it feels good to know that people out there are taking cleanliness and hygiene more seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
If not for me, then for other OCD sufferers as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thanks so much for sharing. Okay, so Lino, the question I did intend for you earlier. So again, it's more about like the external environment, people around you. So how has this journey and your acceptance of everything and all the experiences that you've had affected or your plans with your kids? For example, like are you more empathetic, for example, to the stresses that they face? Do you have more stereotypical worries that the usual male would have, which is like, I need to always have, iron rice bowl, or like always need to look for the 5 C's and stuff like that? Has it changed your perspective in upbringing?
For me personally, I have stopped chasing the 5 C's. That was one of the main problem that got me into this place in the first place,
Yeah.
Always wanting the Rolex watch, the nice cars, the big houses, giving the family a life. But I kind of stopped wanting all that. And, well, when it comes to my kids, I'm still a little
learning,
bit... Yeah, I'm still trying to learn to be a father.
Right.
It's something that I learn every day. I still get angry with them. I still shout at them. I'm sorry, kids. I love you.
I can imagine. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like you bring me so much happiness, but you also bring me so much stress.
Yeah. That is something that I still have to learn. I have a very supportive family. My wife is
Amazing.
Has always been there for me. She has given me the strength to push forward. I mean, during that dark times, I wasn't even working. I wasn't even able to go out the house or find a job or hold a job. She even supported me when I wanted to become a peer support specialist. That I was not getting paid and I was still going, and she supported me all the way. And here I am today, without my family, without the love of my family, my friends, my psychiatrists, my counselors, without this help along the way. If I was still stuck in that hole where I can do everything by myself, I don't think I would be here. I don't think I would be here today with a different dream, with a different purpose in life. Yeah.
We relate with that. Ron, we're almost like going into a thank you session as well. But I totally appreciate that. I totally relate to the fact that, I have never seen a therapist, but with the background that I have, for those who know me, if not for my friends, if not for my wife today as well, especially, but I think more importantly, between when I was about 12 to maybe 21 years old, my friends were my pillars, and I wouldn't be here without them. I've had a psychiatrist actually tell me before, I think once, because I actually did this very stupid thing. Kids don't do this ever. I went to smash a cup on my head. I think I had some mild depression when I was around 15 or 16 because of my family breaking up. And then the psychiatrist is like, based on all your family problems, I'm very surprised you're alive. So, man,
you smashed a cup on your head.
Yeah, it's a porcelain cup. It wasn't wise. I got into a fight with my mom. It's a whole thing. But hey, you know what? I'm just the moderator today. Throwing it back to you, Ron. Who do you have to thank? What was your pillars of strength going through that?
So definitely, my friends come to mind, and I wonder if they're watching right now. But if so, the friends that I met in university were really, really huge for me, in a way that I could not imagine, because just being in that friend group and not having to feel as if you need to watch every word that comes out of your mouth, and having people that could understand your sense of humor, it really, as bad as it is, you really see.
It's always good to a group of people.
Of course,
it's never bad.
Not
bad.
I totally agree with that. I mean, before I met my wife and I had kids and everything, my friends were the one that actually got me through. They were the one that pushed me to move forward, because I wanted to see them every day and be happy with them, right?
This is totally answering the previous question about the triggers and the parents being the triggers. I have to say though, a lot of for us men especially, a lot of the triggers actually come from our parents, because they have whatever society expectation they had, they try to impart it on us. So since young, being a boy, starting from the pure fact, I feel like this is my personal opinion, starting from the pure fact that as a male Singaporean, as you're born, immediately you really get your letter for national service. And there's that impression already on that trajectory that your life is supposed to take. And I feel like there are many things that need to change in order to challenge that stigma of mental health, because the more that we have all these standard trajectories in life, be it studies, money, the 5 C's or whatever, we're not going to be able to break that stigma as well. You want to add something?
Yeah. And I guess for me, like, I almost had that path derailed when I almost screwed up my A levels, right? And then I had to consider different paths. And that's when I realized that the 5 C's, money and all that is really secondary. It's really secondary to what you truly want in life. And especially the connections with people. Yeah. And if you have that is truly the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have this philosophy, before I throw it to a question on the screen, I do have this philosophy and principle that I live by for my life, where the pure purpose of us living on this earth is to coexist. It's not for us to just think about ourselves or anything. So in my journey for mental health challenges as well, and how I try to keep myself sane amidst the storm, is to really just think about my impact on people around me and their impact on me, and really make that hard decision to cut something toxic out if it's toxic. Be it whether it's family, be it whether it's your closest friend for the last 20 years, they could still be the one who are your triggers and would be bad for you. There is a question from Padlet for Ron. Thank you for sharing. As a person who went through A levels, I'm currently studying in UD. I always feel so old. I'm so sorry. I wanted to ask if there was, I'm not even that old. I wanted to ask if there was any time someone has said things like, it's okay, exams are almost over. And if yes, knowing that you have had anxiety, how did you respond and how do you manage your anxiety in university? Absolutely good question, because it's probably one of the most stressful times of life.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, people have said, people always say stuff like, oh, it's going to get better. It's almost over soon. But the issue with that is that they are placing their own expectations and they're kind of transferring it to you, right? So one thing that I always do is to, I guess, see things from, firstly, their point of view and understand where they're coming from first. So, for example, if their exams have ended earlier than mine, then okay, good for them. But, when it comes to my own concerns, the fact is that, maybe I have exams which are at a later date, or maybe I have maybe assignments that I have to go through. So if the question is, how do I manage my anxiety, right? I guess one thing is to always have things in perspective. And what I tell my friends who are stressed about university is that, will you actually care that much about that? That 3 AU test, or which is 20%, let's say 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, or even like on your deathbed, will you care, oh, I got a C from that module? No, you won't care about that, yeah? So thinking long term, right? Thinking maybe 5, 10 years or 20 years in the future, it is a really stressful thing now. But when you take a look at it from a larger perspective, you realize that these issues or these things which we are, in fear about at the moment, they really don't matter that much in the long run. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Where is it coming from, though? The stress. Like, why are we so worried about all these small little things? Where do you think it comes from?
So one thing is the expectations that people place on us. Yeah, and that's coming from parents, from lecturers, even our peers. I know that the competition in university is really, really, really strong, and even more so than A levels, because or O levels, because it determines your job, it determines your future, right? And also another thing where it comes from is the expectations that we give on ourselves. Yeah, and I know a lot of let's say straight A people, right? They place such huge expectations on themselves that it's really affecting their mental health. And you have to take things into perspective.
Thanks very much. Lino, do you have anything to add? No?
I don't have. I've
No,
not
same.
gone to uni.
Same.
It's okay.
Same.
Yeah, so I wouldn't know the stress. I'm not really a studious person. I was more of a I'm not a studious person. Let's not go there.
EQ person. Were you the creative sort in school?
Yes, I was.
More so?
Yes, I was more to the hands-on kind of thing.
Yeah.
books and me, open a book and then just sleeping gas. And
Yeah.
it doesn't really.
I mean, I'm very bad at my hands. So they say I'm horrible in my hands, yeah.
All right, we're coming into the last 15 minutes of
Alright.
what the intended 15 minutes is. But I'm really enjoying myself having this talk because it really is about not suffering in silence at the end of the day. So we've covered our triggers. We've covered identifying what are some of the key causes and that transition into trying to get that recovery. And what I've heard from the both of you is that the peer support system was really critical in recovery. I think for Ron's case, availability of information was the key thing to your recovery as well. Probably not the same for you, or was it?
It was the same.
Okay.
I started to recover also when I started to know more about my condition.
Oh, right.
And then
Okay.
I started reading up, I started borrowing books, I started mixing around with people with the same condition.
How do you get yourself exposed to that? Just finding similar type of issues.
First I went for counseling, and then I was exposed to a peer support specialist in a hospital. Okay, from that peer support specialist, she actually showed me to join the PSS course, which is by NCSS, and that's what I did. And then I started to read up more about my condition, about other people's condition, and what mental health was about. And I was more exposed into what mental health was. And I was like, hey, with all this knowledge I'm learning, why don't I just share it with people, right?
Yeah.
And start spreading the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a question from Parental. What would you say to someone who is not aware of his condition, i.e. depression or being an introvert, but struggle with problems in life? What do you say to someone who is not aware of his condition, essentially?
Right?
I mean, is it right? I mean, is it judgmental for me then if I go to someone it's like, I think you're depressed? Like, how would you feel if a stranger came up to you? I mean, maybe now it's different, but let's say we're talking about someone from a younger age. Like, I can imagine someone could be quite offended, right? Like, so what do you say? Tough, huh?
Wow, this is
It was a simple question, but
Yeah.
quite tough to answer, actually.
yeah, it is because
You gotta respect boundaries too, no?
Yeah.
I guess when someone is really ready to open up, there will be a point that you can kind of notice, right? Especially when you're a good friend or a very close friend, and you notice a shift in character or
The aura.
the aura or something. A simple, are you okay?
Yeah.
Is there anything?
Makes a lot of difference.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
are
that
you
simple
okay
question.
or do you want to talk about it? You don't go straight to the point. I think you're depressed.
Yeah.
Because if you do that,
That's-
then the person's
that's
just going to
being
build a wall.
judgmental, yeah.
The person's just going to build a wall in front of you and say no.
Yeah, and the issue with that is that when you say that someone is depressed, right, you're
Yeah.
kind of relying on your own stereotypical idea of what a depressed person is.
Or any mental conditions.
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that.
So it's really relying on. It's something about your question. There's something about being an introvert and it's like labeling it as like a condition or something, right? Yeah. I just wanted to clarify that being an introvert is not.
no, I'm an introvert.
Yeah, I'm an introvert as well. Yeah. So
I am full introvert, which is very contrary to what's happening right now with us talking on live stream.
So,
Look, okay. Thanks so much for the question, by the way.
So do you mind if I because I feel
Go
I
ahead,
didn't
go ahead.
answer that question about university anxiety very well. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
You have the time.
yeah. So I mean, just now I said that you should have the long-term perspective, and well, that's only one part of the equation. Another part of the equation is really objectively looking at how well you've prepared for it. Yeah, and if the question comes and you realize that you've done all that you can, right? And the fact is that you whatever happens, you know that you've done your best. Then at some point in time, you have to say there's not really much point to me worrying. So these two things, looking at it long term and understanding that yes, you have prepared for it. These two things are really what got me through university. Yeah.
And for more tips, follow at Mental Health
Mental
CEO.
Health on
It's a
Instagram.
great time for a plug as well. Thank you so much for all these questions. Keep them coming in. React and comment on Facebook and YouTube as well. There's another question from Padlet for Lino. You ready, Lino? And take another one.
Yes, sure.
All right, hot seat for you again. Could you share with us one advice? How can the spouse support their partners who is struggling with mental health? E.g., fear, anxiety, or phobia and anxiety.
Well, this question goes both
Right.
ways, is it? It's like,
Depends on the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, I guess if your partner is going through a mental health, challenge or anything, I think just being there to support is the most important thing. Not questioning or doubting their fear, their anxiety, not saying, oh, it's in your head, it will get by.
Small
it'll
thing
pass.
lah,
Yeah,
small thing.
small thing. Why are you worrying so much about this? It's the past already. I know it's easier said than done. Definitely easier said than done. But to be there genuinely, from the heart, I guess that is the most
There's
important
a
thing.
lot of difference. Actually, I can tell the difference. I'll just share, like, personally, my grandmother just passed away, right? And when I received the news, my wife tried to do. I feel like the answer to that is not just about anyone with a mental health condition, but just being a good spouse, I guess, in general. Because my wife tried to do nice things for me, and I actually was very flustered, very angry. I told her, you know what, just don't do anything, just let me be. But that thing that you talk about, being genuine, care, like just being silent, actually is enough. Like, less is more to some cases, but I think
Yeah.
it really depends on the relationship at the end of the day.
Sometimes it doesn't have to be words, because you're a spouse, right? It's just a hug, and just let it linger, and it's small things like that just make things better.
Yeah.
Sometimes words can't change anything, but
Yeah.
that genuine, authentic feeling you get, yeah. I hope I answered it. Yeah.
Yeah, you answered it for me as well, because that question and your answer prompted so many memories of conversations I've had, and even with Sabrina, the co-founder for Calm Collective. She always thanks me for the support that I've given Calm Collective, or even as a friend. And then I also just check up on her from time to time. It's just like you said, right? The really simple acts of kindness. And if you do things superficially, like it's really obvious, and you can tell, right? I would imagine. Right, Ron, I feel like you got something to say about superficiality. No, I'm kidding.
I not say I have a lot of experience in having a spouse, but
No, not at all. But like a partner
yeah.
or
So,
very close friends.
I've
who
done
check on you.
quite a bit of research on it, and really, one part of being genuine, right, is this whole idea of active listening, right? And this comes down to communication. Like a lot of people, when they listen to people, right, or other people, they have it in their mind to what their response is going to be, rather than actually listening to the person.
Yeah.
And that is a big no-no. And
Yeah.
people can see that. People can
Yeah.
see that you are superficially listening.
Yeah.
And I guess specifically for anxious relationships where one party or both has anxiety, one thing that you can do if you're the person without anxiety is to model calmness. Yeah, because when we're anxious, I've been there myself. If you panic as well, it's really infectious. So whereas if you model calmness, if you provide, don't invalidate our struggles. I don't say it's a small thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you model calmness, give us objective, rational perspectives, that is really, really, really helpful.
Oh, thanks, Ron. I've learned something new from you also.
Yeah.
The active listening part is so important also. Like I hear about it all the time, but it's always a wonder why people are still not understanding the concept of active listening. Everyone out there, please listen more actively, listen with your heart. Okay, BTL, how many more questions are we going to have? Because I know I'm supposed to wrap things up. I was given some instructions to try to keep it under an hour, but time is passing so quickly. I'm actually having quite a lot of fun talking about this. But let's answer this one from Ed Azari Atan. Atan, right? Atan, am I pronouncing it right? I'm so
not so
sorry if
sure.
I'm pronouncing it wrong. How can a child get their close-minded father to share and have an open conversation about his or her own mental health struggles? How can a child get their close-minded father to share?
Oh, I wouldn't get a child involved to ask a dad to open up. I mean, I think that is something that I wouldn't want to put on my kids. For them to have this worry to get daddy to open up, or papa to open up. I don't think we should.
I wouldn't put that stress on my kid.
Yeah, I wouldn't
though.
put that stress
It's
on my kid.
Go ask your dad how he's doing it.
Yeah, because
it feels a bit stressful, unless we're reading the question wrong.
yeah, but if you're talking about husband or the father itself to open up about his mental condition, to tell the kids about his mental condition, and then if I take that into perspective, I would always talk to my kids about mental condition. I talk to them openly about mental condition.
When do you start introducing them to that concept?
I don't tell them in details of what
Right.
mental condition is, but I do want to expose them to that mental condition is real,
Right.
And obviously, my wife and we will always tell them to, be as open as possible to us, because we are your first. We want to be there for you.
Yeah.
We want you to have that kind of relationship where you can open and talk to us.
Yeah.
If we are not there, there's always, your aunties and
Yeah.
uncles, or your grandparents that you can turn to, or your teachers,
Yeah.
The thing is, that is what I would want parents to let their children know. Because mental health conditions it's a real thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if they know from the start, they can gauge themselves. They can talk about it.
Yeah,
They can be
you're
more
right.
expressive about it, which is good, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, I think this should be added into MOE's curriculum, right? At the end of the day.
Exactly.
Much like climate change, for example. Mental health conditions are obviously a growing issue, especially with the pandemic, right? We have so many statistics, from IMH and MOH about the mental health status right now. And obviously, there's been a few articles recently, right? Like how many Singaporeans have recently also been more depressed and unwilling to get help just because of the pandemic as well. Man, I could go on for days. Do you want to add something before I ask a final question?
Not really, actually.
Yeah, because
Yes.
this one's about parenthood.
Yeah.
Tell you what, so what I intended to do almost 20 minutes ago, but we'll try to wrap this up as much as we can. The intention was to try and tie this up with formal help. Okay, so we've spoken a lot about the peer support that we had, and then you've spoken about getting peer support help. Whoa, sorry. Siri being annoying. So we've spoken about peer support help, and then we've spoken about more formal help of seeing a therapist as well. Why don't you just end off with this? I'm going to ask you this question. So what is your departing message to everyone out there who suffers in silence and are afraid of seeking professional help? Because maybe they already have their support group available, but they haven't gotten that extra step yet to make that bigger difference by seeking professional help, or maybe not professional, but at least more formal help.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start by echoing what one of the earlier questions said about not being bad enough for it to warrant or deserve help. I don't think there's any such thing. I feel that in the same way that you go to a doctor for a cold before it kind of like progresses to pneumonia, for example, if you do have troubles and if you do have challenges or struggles, it is worth it to visit a therapist or professional, even if it's just to connect the dots or vent or release some of your emotions, right? It's actually really, really helpful. And I would wager to say that my own life was changed because I sought help.
There is such thing as early intervention as
Yep.
well, right? For this, absolutely. It was actually one of the questions I had. earlier, like how early is too early also, but I guess
Yeah.
you're saying there isn't.
Yep.
Lino?
Well, my biggest fear last time before I seek help, right, was how am I going to pay the bills? Um, am I going to be judged because I have a mental condition? So these are all the things were running through my head that I didn't want to see a professional. But I went to the polyclinic, and it didn't cost much. On top of that, I'm seeking help at Sengkang General Hospital, and I'm getting financial help from the government, and I'm not paying anything to see a professional.
Okay.
So you see, the biggest problem is that I always thought that, oh wow, they get paid 200 an hour, 150 an hour. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be broke. But no, you see, there's always help out there, and if financial help is needed, there's always, there's the medical finances that can help you along the way. So it's never too late. You don't need tons of money to see professionals.
Which already quashes the stereotype, because I was always under the impression that it was always going to cost more, because I've heard stories of therapists costing like $200 an hour immediately.
Correct.
Yeah. But you're saying that's not the case.
No, that's not the case, because I'm getting a lot of help from the government.
Awesome.
I mean, subsidies and everything, and even my medication. I have heart problems and everything. Everything is all under Medifund. So
Awesome. But do you feel like more can be done though? In
Yeah,
terms
definitely.
of from like the government and things like that.
I guess there is not. I had to find out this by myself. There isn't.
Yeah.
It's not printed everywhere.
Yeah.
I have to find this out by myself. I had to literally go through all the processes, but it's not, the information is not out there and saying, hey, you can get help as cheap as $2, $3. But-
Go ahead. Finish
Yeah.
up.
So that's what I mean. It has to be more publicized.
More
right?
publicized, absolutely. But sometimes I have to say, because we always keep talking, like the amazing work that Calm Collective and Beyond the Label has been doing, it will reach a certain point in time where we're preaching to the choir, and that there are many different types of people who are not consuming the media that we're publicizing on. But that's the reason why BTL is doing such great work, because they're always pushing boundaries to try and communicate this. I'm going to wrap things up, so I'm going to thank you very much, Lino, and thank you very much, Ron, for being here.
Thank
Lino
you.
and Ron, for sharing your personal stories as well. It really takes a lot of courage for you to be able to do that. So really thank you so much for sharing. Yeah? We'll catch up more after this.
All
If we
right.
get through this first. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, for being online with us, wherever you are. We hope you had a good time listening to us have a chat about suffering in silence and why we shouldn't be doing it. And we want to make sure that the men out there, like what Lino said earlier, you're not alone. A lot of these societal expectations of you, peer pressure and all that, we're here to remind you that you can always reach out to any of us. You can reach out to Beyond the Label as well, and go onto their website also to find all kinds of additional help that you can find. Basically, if you need to find any help, you can find it on BTL's website. Okay, so if you enjoyed our conversations, you may tune in for more talks on our website at calmcollective.asia, or check out our podcast, Calm Conversations, available on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. For all of the questions that have not been answered today, thank you very much again for them. Beyond the Label will actually get back to you directly. But if let's say you're not hearing back from them, don't chastise them or anything like that. Just go onto their Facebook and Instagram and drop them a PM. They would love to have a chat with you, even if it takes a while, because it is a lean team. So please be a little bit understanding and don't be so demanding. I know what that's like. Okay. So 2 other things that I'd like to mention before I close off. Number 1, #Stop the Stigma. This is a campaign by Beyond the Label. All you need to do is basically create a piece of content to express your support. You can see all of the information and instructions on the screen. dig deep into your creativity and then post the content onto your social media accounts via Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok with the hashtag #StopTheStigma, and then tag 3 friends to continue the momentum. So that's one. I hope you can join us for that one. And the other thing that I would like to end off with is that there is, for all the creatives out there, a mental health songwriting competition. Super cool. So whether you're a rapper, you're a singer-songwriter, I don't know, DJs, I'm just speaking out of my head. You can submit your piece by 26 October on BTL's website, or you can scan the QR code that's flashing up on the screen right now. So, and with that, I would like to bid all of you a very good night. I would like to thank again Ron and Lino. Sorry, it's getting quite late, so I'm forgetting Dave's already.
It's okay.
And also the BTL team, the crew that's all here working so late at night to provide this amazing content for you to learn about mental health and about men's mental health at that. And also the Calm Collective team that is working so hard behind me and making sure that we give you what you need and want. So thanks again, everyone. We hope to see you next time on the next BTL Fest. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. See ya.
I know I've gotta stop this, so yeah, don't you worry. Take your time, take it slowly. No, don't give in so easily. Yeah, you deserve to be free, yeah. Stop this thinking, take a breath, stop your doubting. No, don't you see toxicity and worrying has no meaning. I don't wanna be this way. Navigating through the clutter in my mind, I do this all the time. Think about all you've done, it's a journey. Just know that you deserve it. Look ahead and keep on walking, walking towards the light. Oh yeah, stop this thinking, take a breath, stop your doubting. No, don't you see toxicity and worrying has no meaning. I don't wanna be this way. Help me find the happy side of me, of me. Help me find the stronger part of me, of me. Turn around, give yourself the permission. Just know that you deserve it. But sometimes I get scared and dismissive. Don't wanna be this way. Don't wanna be this way, yeah. Don't you worry. Take your time, take it slowly. No, don't give in so easily. Yeah, you deserve to be free, yeah. Stop this thinking, take a breath, stop your doubting. No, don't you see toxicity and worrying has no meaning. I don't wanna be this way. It's never easy feeling like you're so alone, and your heart feels like a stone. Think about it night and day, wondering if you'll be okay. I'm here in this place once again, suffocating. It's drowning me too deep. I know I've gotta stop this, so yeah, don't you worry. Take your time, take it slowly. No, don't give in so easily. Yeah, you deserve to be free, yeah. Stop this thinking, take a breath, stop your doubting. No, don't you see toxicity and worrying has no meaning. I don't wanna be this way. Navigating through the clutter in my mind, I do this all the time. Think about all you've done, it's a journey. Just know that you deserve it. Look ahead and keep on walking, walking towards the light. Oh yeah, stop this thinking, take a breath, stop your doubting. No, don't you see, toxicity and worrying has no meaning. I don't wanna be this way. Help me find the happy side of me, of me. Help me find the stronger part of me, of me. Turn around, give yourself the permission. Just know that you deserve it. But sometimes I get scared and dismissive. Don't wanna be this way. Don't wanna be this way, yeah. Don't you worry. Take your time, take it slow.